Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for another edition of What the Fugue, where I talk about what's going on with me in my world of comics. How's it going, everybody? Been a interesting week. Not necessarily in comics itself, but in a small segment of my area of not possession, but the area that I circulate in the YouTube community. But we'll probably get into that a little bit. But first, I keep talking about this end-of-year video that I'm going to do for 2014, where I kind of thumb through my books, briefly talk about them in some sense or another. That's not going to happen. I had the whole thing recorded in bits and pieces and chunks. I had, I don't know, almost 3 hours worth of footage. Not that it was going to be a 3-hour video, trust me. But I had different things going on. And I went to splice it all together and work up the bells and whistles to make it fun. And went to process the video to render it from the code that it's into a code that can be loaded up to YouTube. And it's completely corrupted. And not only is it corrupted, about 85% of the original files are corrupted in some sense. So I don't want to shoot it all again. Because I've been working on it in my moments of time that I have free time, at the expense of doing other stuff that I want to do for quite some time. So, not going to happen. I don't know. Maybe next year. If you want to know what I got in comics, go look at the last year's worth of videos, I guess. I don't know. It's a big bummer. It is. It bums me out. I you know, was kind of looking forward to that. I was looking forward to them for myself, just so I have someplace to kind of, you know, thumb through and look to see what it was. You know, it was curious. It was interesting to go back and look at what I picked up in the year, to remember some of the stuff I picked up, things that I got and it dropped. For instance, things that I didn't remember ending at the beginning of the year, that sort of stuff. And for me personally, it's always also another journey involved in that, because for me, lots of times comics are a landmark of what else is going on around me. Not that the comics reflect what's going on, or vice versa, but just that I have strong associations with the comic as far as this is what was going on in my life while I was reading these books, or whatever. They're kind of like for me, a visual journal of stuff. Wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. But it always does to me. So I was kind of looking forward to this year actually having that all processed like that. But not going to happen. I have a box of long boxes, of drawer boxes like you see behind me. So I've got a bunch of those to put together. So some of the shape off over here will change shape as I slowly add more boxes in. And I've got those long boxes worth of comics to somehow magically get sorted into all the other boxes. But yeah, I plan on doing that soonish, I hope, because I have to prepare, because as of this Thursday, it is a month until Emerald City Comic-Con, which is, with the exception of last year, is always a huge event for me. Super looking forward to it. To be quite honest, I haven't really gone over who all is going to be there yet as far as creators go, to start mapping a plan as to exactly what I'm going to do. And as we get close to the con, I'll talk about that more. If you have questions about this con in particular, or cons in general, as far as like dealing with a big con, I've gone to a big con. Emerald City Comic Con is huge. Now it's, you know, 40,000 plus people, kind of big. And I've been to some smaller ones. Smaller ones aren't so difficult to try and time manage and what else is going on, but the larger one, that's a 3-day event of a lot of stuff going on. You know, I guarantee there's a lot of questions, because I had a lot of questions the first year I went, and I thought I was prepared, and then I went, and then I discovered the reality of that, and yeah, and then have since then made different types of plans as to what I want to do. So as we're getting closer to that, if you have questions about that whole planning process, I don't know how much of it I'll actually share on camera as far as the process of getting ready, but I may talk about some. But if people are actually really interested, then clearly I will talk about, because you know, it's an aspect of comics that that is cool and enjoyable. I think everybody should go to at least one con, unless you truly, truly, honest to God, have a clinical fear of crowds or something. Boy, I had to draw a blank. I was trying to think of the actual word, but I can't think of it. You know, or you're agoraphobic or something like that, you can't leave your home. Everybody should go to at least one. And I suggest you go to one that's, you know, reasonably sized. It's fun. Just for the experience of being someplace live with hundreds or thousands of people that are just like you. Just like you in the sense they're all there because they love the hobby in some sense or another. They're all there to celebrate comics and you know, pop culture, and that's awesome. I'm not a crowd person. I am not excited to be in large throngs of people. The only time it's okay for me is if it's great live music and Comic Cons. But those two things, because I know I'm with like-minded people, that's a cool celebration. It's cool to think that there's that broad spectrum, and there always is when you go to these cons, at least the one that I've been to, broad spectrum of people that are there and are excited and pumped about the same stuff as me. So that's just awesome. But I will once again this year, I'll try to record as much stuff at that con as I can. We'll see how well I can tweet or how well I can shoot out little videos either on YouTube or on my Twitter handle. I don't know what it is about cons, but it seems like when you go into a convention center and you get into the middle of the convention center, they have some like secret material they've lined the building with that makes your cell reception just absolute crap. So it makes it incredibly hard to live launch out what's going on. So it may be a matter of me taking a ton of pictures, and then when I'm done with the con for the night and I go back to the hotel or whatever, you may suddenly get a giant info dump of me me showing what happened that that day. You may not get the experience as it's happening. We'll see. We'll see how hard that is to do. But like I said, I haven't got a battle plan yet, but I am pretty excited. My badges should be coming in the mail any day. Pretty stoked about that. Excited to see what's going to go on there. Let's see. I can't think of anything pressing news-wise that's come out. Comic book-wise, that's a huge factor that I can think of. Yeah, some of that stuff, anything I can think of, we'll talk about once comics are read. We'll talk about the roundtable this Saturday, of course, at its usual time, 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern time or thereabout. If you've watched the show, you know we're lucky if we get started at a quarter till. Sometimes it waits clear until that, depending on who's coming. I got a pretty good idea who's coming on the show tonight. I've had enough people send me messages and say, hey, can I be on? We're going to have a pretty full crew, some fun people. I haven't got my comics yet, but I clearly hear from some of those people, they're super excited about those comics. So it should make for a fun show with everybody stoked and talking about comics. I have to say, it seems like it's been a long time since I've had a week of comics where most of the comics I kind of groaned over. It's just been, there have been some great comics. Are they all Eisner Award-winning comics? No, but there's a lot of enjoyable, fun stuff to read, and that's awesome. That's really exciting and makes for hopefully makes for a fun show. It makes it fun for me to talk about the comic books. That's for sure. When everybody's excited to be there and to be talking comics. I think there's like 5 or 6 of us going to be on the show, so should be pretty cool. I hope. I think tentatively there will be a bat chat on Johnny DaCosta's channel. So, and that'll be on Friday, at sometime in the late evening, 8-ish Pacific time, 11 Eastern time, I think, is kind of what's been floating out there. So hopefully we'll do that. That'll be exciting, of course, because there was a big issue of Batman came out this this week, and the stuff going on with Batgirl. I don't know if we'll get into the Secret Origin stuff, but I know there's a lot of Bat Family type stuff to talk about that we'll get into, I'm sure, plus just the heavy layered stuff that's going on with the Endgame stuff and whatnot. I'm sure we'll talk lots of fun stuff. And if nothing else, it'll be a good laugh because, you know, we're pretty good at picking on each other, if nothing else. So if you want to watch some good friends hang out and BS about Batman, hopefully that'll be on. Check that out too. So yeah. What else? I can't think of anything else that's particularly going on newsworthy-wise or they need to chat about-wise. So on to the, you know, I guess in some people's cases, more uncomfortable drama aspect of functioning here on YouTube in some sense, or at least for me. If you're not interested in your quasi-drama, not that it's my intention to cause anymore, I'm not calling anybody out, I'm not going to get into the whole passive-aggressive boistering that goes on YouTube a lot. That's not what this conversation is going to be about, but I'm going to talk about it because I think it needs to be talked about, and you know, I like to hear my own voice, I guess, and so I think I need to chime in my opinion and my take on things and where I stand, and then you know, if you're listening and you want to evaluate me and my channel and whatever based on that, awesome, that's great. Yeah, so if you're not interested in that, you just want to hear me talk comics and all the exciting stuff that's with comics and whatnot, now's the time to turn it off because it's done, you know, and that's what the rest of this is going to be. The rest of this is more, even more personal than what the Fugue typically is anyway. So, that being said, here goes the rest of this. So, if you don't know about some of the stuff that went on, I'm not going to go into any sort of detail and whatnot. There are people who alluded to you know, people not being real collectors, and alluded to whether they want to admit to it or not. Made what most people would consider you know, sexist comments about other people on YouTube, which clearly I'm sure happens all the time, but not within the environment that I operate in. That doesn't normally happen, and people spoke up, which is great. People need to speak up, in my opinion. Now, am I saying that everybody can't have their opinion? Certainly, everybody can have their own opinion, and you can express that opinion. Just remember that unless you are privatizing your stuff, unless you're talking in you know, messaging or direct messaging and whatnot, it's a public forum, so people see what's going on. You know, and if you are going to air grievances or state a polarizing opinion, either way, whether I agree with it or not, it's going to attract attention, and it's going to attract debate and conversation. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's fine, and we can certainly have all of our opinions. We should be able to talk about it civilly. If we can't come to an agreement, and whatever the argument is, if it's enough that we can't come to an agreement or to just let it go, then clearly you go your way and I go my way, and we're all the happier, right? Because, you know, obviously if we're that far apart, and then we don't need watching each other's videos and whatnot, or getting into anything else. It doesn't matter, because like I said, I'm not going to participate in the passive aggressive bolstering, talking about people in marginal innuendo without actually, you know, naming the people. And in saying that, I'm sure somebody's going to say, "Oh, that's what this is," and that's not the case. If I had a particular issue with an individual, those individuals will hear from me. So, at any rate, and that's how it should be. But once, if I'm sub to you and you're sub to me, and I see that you're making statements to, you know, intimidate or or pressure or exclude a segment, and I don't care what segment that is, whether that be what you consider fake collectors, whether that be women who talked too loud, whether that be people that aren't on the same skin tone as me, whether that be people who want to analyze their books to death and not do haul videos, whether that be people who do haul videos, any of those things. If you take your issue with them to the point that that makes those people feel like they shouldn't be here and they shouldn't have a voice and they shouldn't have a seat at the table and they shouldn't be able to participate in the greater thing that is comics and comic book collecting and the comic book fandom, things are going to be said. I'm going to say something. I'm going to take action in some sense or another. Does that mean I'm telling other people how to think? No. That doesn't happen. People ask me what I think. I tell them what I think. They make their own choices as to what they want to do or whatnot. It's as simple as that. So if you're one of those people who are trying to, even if you don't see it as that way, if you're actively trying to remove somebody else, and I don't want anybody chased off. Even this latest thing, the dudes that said stuff that I think is ridiculous, that you can't understand how some of the stuff you said in this century would be considered sexist. Do I want you ran off? No. I don't think anybody should be ran off. But I think that if you say something like that, you're going to get called out, and you should get called out. Hopefully, in a way that a conversation could be had, and there'd be some understanding. I'm not sure that all of these dudes are truly, truly bad dudes. I think a lot of it is social, and a lot of it is you don't get it or don't think past, oh my God, somebody's saying something about me, and then it becomes a battle as opposed to actually listening to what the other side has to say about it. And that goes both ways. That goes for everybody. I'm not a perfect human being. There have been plenty of times where I am sitting on the other side of my screen and I'm basically thinking, shut the fuck up. And I don't want to hear what your opinion is because, clearly you're flying in the face of me. I try to dial that back before I have a response. But not always. There's certainly been times in the past that discourse could have been done better. But I think I'm getting off track here from what I want to say. But at any rate, so if you're going to be that way and you're not going to hear what the people have to say that you have bothered or whatever, not bothered, bothered's not the right word, offended or try to drive off and whatnot, if it was by accident, if it wasn't your intention to do that, if you're not bothering to listen to it, then that clearly is your intention. And I'm not going to stand for it. I was quiet this time when stuff happened, mostly because most of the stuff that happened while I was away at work, where I don't have access to immediately respond in a whole lot of fashion about most things that are going on. And by the time I got to a time where I can address it, enough other people addressed it. There were enough other great voices out there saying what needed to be said that I didn't feel like I needed to put my 2 cents in at the time. But I kind of feel like I do now, just so people know where I'm at. And if you're somebody who supports somebody who has those malicious viewpoints, I don't know that I particularly want to associate with you and participate in what you have going on, because clearly you have a different value of, the people, the other YouTubers that are participating in this. If you think it's okay, if you're supporting, giving thumbs up, and subbing people who are swearing and slut shaming and whatever else, being some higher than mighty person who is going to inform other people, what makes them, an actual participant in the hobby and not. If you're going to support those voices, I don't want to be supportive of you, and I'd prefer if you weren't supportive of me, that we part ways and not associate each other, because you make me uncomfortable. As simple as that. If you thought that where this conversation went to, the elevation went to, the response that came from simply seeing that somebody was, was being talked about. That person went to them and said, "Hey, why are you saying this crappy stuff about me?" And then the response back, granted, there were some other people who cut some videos and kind of sarcastically pointed a finger to say how ridiculous this is, but certainly did not actually slander your name or cuss or swear or be toxic in that sense. And then the response back is to have this foul stuff and whatnot, and that foul stuff is what gets thumbs up and what gets some subs and that sort of stuff. And I don't want to participate in that. Like I said, I think we can have any sort of conversation, uncomfortable in a civil fashion, but once it goes beyond that, then there's no reason to have that conversation anymore. But I don't think that, in this case in particular, it's the ladies. But this goes for any other small segment that's part of the larger thing, because clearly us white guys are the large segment. And then there's all these other demographics that should be part of what we have going on and whatnot. And so this situation would work the same regardless. In this case, because it's specific, we know, it's the ladies in this case. They shouldn't be quiet. They shouldn't have to apologize. I know some people made videos saying, "Oh, we shouldn't be angry. We shouldn't, talk with anger." Bullshit. Those women should be talking with anger. That stuff is directly related to them. It's a direct attack on them. It's squeezing them out. It's trying to take away their voice. I would be angry. I'm angry for them. And I know sometimes when I do the video, it's not helpful. It's great that we have more women's voices. There's a larger group now. They're getting bigger. They're becoming more of the comic consuming population. That's the reality. They are part of us, and they should be part of us, and they should be able to be made felt like part of us. Like they're one of the guys. That's how it should be. So it's important for them to have that voice, and so they shouldn't shut up. They shouldn't, after they make a video, showing support for their friends, which is clearly what any of you guys would do. They shouldn't have to watch somebody else's video and think that they now need to backpedal and apologize for having some passion about wanting their place at the table. That's absurd. It's absurd to be asking for that of any of those people. Because in none of the videos that I see from any of those ladies did they come across, well, one of them dropped the F-bomb at one point. One of them dropped an F-bomb at one point. I think basically for shock value to clearly have everybody listen to what the hell was being said. But that's it. Otherwise, there was nothing that I ever saw was over the top. It was everybody having a discussion, calling bullshit on what was bullshit. And none of those ladies should be apologizing for that. None of those ladies should be apologizing for people trying to squeeze them out. And none of those ladies should be apologizing that had nothing to do with it, that put out videos supporting it. Those people shouldn't have to apologize for that at all. At all. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. You don't have to listen to them. If you're not interested in what they have to say, don't listen to them. Don't subscribe to their channel. They aren't going to affect you. They aren't going to affect your comic book buying habits. They aren't going to affect you in any way. With maybe the exception of, because they are becoming more of the marketplace, clearly books are going to be marketed to that segment of the population too. And what's wrong with that? Stretch a little. Stretch a little in your reading and the possibilities of what could be out there that could be cool. Right? But it really comes down to, and I think I've said this every year, here we are 2015, 2 months in, play nice or go home. It's as simple as that. Play nice or go home. If you can't play nice with everybody, if you can't just, there's people you don't care to watch their videos, you don't like their style, you don't like their thumbnails, you don't like, how they hold their comics, you don't like whatever it is, you don't like my beard, whatever. Just don't watch those people. You know, why participate in going someplace else in a public forum and bitching about them? Why do that? Why the passive-aggressive stuff? Why the hate mail? I know they get it. I know they get tons of hate mail, tons of inappropriate stuff, tons of threats, because I have gotten them. I've gotten them for simply saying that these people should have a place at the table. So why do that? Why spend that energy to do that? Dude, spend that energy collecting comics how you want to collect comics. You know? Why? Why have to go after somebody else? You know, the subs aren't that important. They aren't. You know, the people who actually participate with you, those are the people who are important. Just having meaningless subs for the sake of having subs. So what? Because that seems to be an issue too. These girls have all these subs and I don't. Well, you know what? There's a lot less of them, and they have a different voice. So a lot of us are subbing to them because we get to hear 1,000 white dudes talk about comic books. I'm more curious to hear about the female community talking about comic books, the Asian community talking about comic books, the Latin community talking about comic books, the transgender people talking about comic books. I'm interested in hearing that. And probably everybody else should too. And if you don't want to, if you're not interested, like I said, don't subscribe. Unsubscribe. Once you realize that's what it is, you know, some people just show haul videos, and that rocks. That's easy. That's simple to consume and whatnot. If you're not into the other aspects of books, because a lot of books venture off into all kinds of social, you know, whatever. You're not interested in that, don't subscribe to those people's videos that talk about it. It's as easy as that. If you don't like hearing me, you know, yammer on for way too long, don't watch my What the Fugue. Because, I mean, lots of times that's what this is. Because for me, this is, you know, What the Fugue is my vlog where I just kind of talk about my feelings, my experience, my life in comics. You know, and then I have the review videos where I just simply talk about the books. You know, it keeps you separated from the stuff you don't want to hear about. It's as simple as that. You know, the people currently are having a problem with, you know, people using the word feminist. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Because generally, every single one of these women, if they're going to have a conversation that has to do with that, it's in the frickin' title. If you're tired of it, you've heard one too many of them, don't watch it. It's easy. It's easy. Just don't participate. Go find another corner to play in. There's lots of them, you know. But don't wreck it for somebody else. Don't wreck it for somebody else. You know, don't somebody new to it. Don't wreck it. Don't make it go, you know, turn it into this thing, man. I've got a long history with comic books. And I don't say that to brag, just that it's my experience. I've got a lot of gray hair. You know, I've been reading comic books for a long time. My comic book experience is very different from a lot of newer readers. People who are half my age do not have the same comic book experience as us. Us old guys should be happy for them that they get the reading experience that they do. Maybe they don't get to experience the great books that we got to experience when we were kids, but you know what they do get to experience? They get to experience the fact that there's this hobby that people don't have the same response to that they did before. You know, now if you're seeing with a Spider-Man comic book, oh cool, even if they don't read comics, they at least relate to the movies and whatnot. Oh cool, that's cool. You know, maybe we should be a little jealous, but not in a bad way. We should be celebrating the fact that they get to walk around with a comic book and not be harassed, not be beat up, not be, you know, picked on for liking a comic book. There's all these new people who are super excited about comic books, don't know a damn thing about them, but they're excited about them. And that's awesome too. I love watching a video where somebody comes on, even if they don't have a freaking clue, and they're excited about it. Yes, we should be celebrating right along with them. I get super excited when I run into somebody else who's excited about comics. They make me excited about comics. And that's what I want to be, is excited about comics. So new people who are clueless, awesome. You know, if they state a fact that isn't right, you know, if it seems like they're interested in the actual knowledge of comics, if that seems to be their thing and they're just stating facts wrong, you know, nicely say, hey, this is my understanding of you know, where this comes from and whatnot. You know, if they come back with a "you're nuts," Wikipedia says this, okay, you know, that, I mean, I read it, but, you know, whatever. It doesn't have to become a battle. You know, if they're gonna hold the ground and not listen to you, it's the same as if they're not you know, if you're not listening to them, leave it alone. It doesn't have to become more than that. Most are excited, are interested, and want to be here, want to learn, want to know what's going on, but they don't want to be put in their place, or you have to bow down to the people who know, or you know, don't want to feel like they should be having to treat you like royalty because you've got a longer expanse in the comic book world. We all have our thing, you know. Let it be. Play nice or go home. This has gone on way too long, and I don't know if I made any sense. Other than that's really what I want. I want people to treat people nice, and if you can't treat people nice, and especially if it's people I know that I like and you're not treating them nice, even if you're not somebody I know, if I hear, you know, that you're trying to squeeze somebody else out of the hobby because they aren't doing something the way you think it should be done, I'll probably stick my nose in it because I'm a you know, a social warrior or whatever you want to call me. You know, I'm a white knight. You know, whatever. I've heard it all. You know, I've gotten all the emails calling me everything under the sun. That's fine. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is the life I'm comfortable living, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the heat that comes along with it, and I just want a place for everybody. And like I said, not wanting to chase anybody off, but if you're going to be in a public space around me, and openly or passive aggressively harass somebody else, then no. And I'm not saying I'm not guilty. I'm not saying I haven't done it in the past. I'm not saying I may ultimately not do it again. Sometimes it's just hard not to. When people are just, you know, flipping shit, just to walk away from it. It's hard. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, that's another reason I didn't put out a video until now. Because videos before this probably would have been, well, a lot more on the hostile side. Because I've been on the receiving end of quite a bit of it. You know, too. Just like a lot of us have. Any of us that have been in, been here long enough, you're bound to get some of it at some point. If you haven't, you're one of the lucky ones, I think, because I think most of us have. But anyway, this has gone on way too long. For those of you who are interested in this part, thanks for listening. If you disagree, you know, have the conversation if you want to. If you disagree and you think, dude, this guy's off his rocker, you know, unsubscribe. That's fine too. You know, subscriber count hasn't mattered a whole lot to me for quite some time. It was exciting when I first started out, but at this point, you know, it is what it is. I love to have new people subscribe to me and have conversations with me, and we have an awesome time, you know, celebrating comics in all of its aspects. That part's not too important how many I have. So anyway, thanks for listening. Went on way too long. Hopefully it's not corrupt, like I said. Hopefully it's not some camera to software issue that suddenly cropped up, and this will get the airwaves. And I will probably see you on the weekend. I don't think I'm going to end up reviewing last week's comic series. This is 2 weeks now I've missed. Hopefully I'll be back on track starting next week, so I get a chance to personally talk about the books beyond talking about them when I talk about them on the roundtable. Roundtable's fun, but I tend to want to always talk more about the books on my own. So anyway, have a great one, everybody, and I'll hopefully talk with somebody on the weekend. Bye.